Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment, where we help you break through your first or next $100,000 goal. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Six-Figure Author Experiment. I am so excited because not only is our guest today one of my favorite experts, but she's one of my favorite humans on the whole earth, Oriana from Kickstarter. Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for coming.
Oh my gosh. Also one of my favorite humans on the whole earth. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited because Lee, while we were in New Orleans, was like, why have we never had Oriana on the show? It's like, I don't know. I just like always. Yes. And I'm like, well, that's probably a good idea. We're 40 episodes in almost. Like, we should like have the person who's most responsible for our for like my success on this show about our success.
I think the person most responsible for your success is you, but I will be happy to take a bit of an augmentary role. And yes, delighted to get to chat with you guys anytime under any circumstances.
Amazing. All right. So we all know who you are, the two of us, but do you want to go through a little of your bio for
Oh, sure. So I'm the head of publishing at Kickstarter. A little bit of my bio. My background is about half and half traditional book publishing and digital media. I had kind of two parallel careers. I've been all over the publishing industry. I started back at Random House before they had absorbed Penguin. So I am obviously as old as the hills. I've been, I was a matchmaker for ghostwriters. I was a reader for a literary agent. And then in parallel, I had a journalism career where I was a copy editor for MTV News and a news writer for Atlas Obscura. I wrote a book about a decade ago which grew out of a sort of long-running reporting project about DIY and underground art spaces across Brooklyn and New York. So yeah, those are the sort of like the kind of combined experiences that I bring to Kickstarter. I've been in this role. I've been at Kickstarter for almost 6.5 years. This is the longest I've been at any company. I actually came to Kickstarter to grow our journalism category, which was cool and fun when such things seemed possible way back in 2019. Then COVID happened. Everything went crazy. I got laid off. I got rehired. I got moved around. I was running publishing and comics and journalism for a bunch of years until it was decided that that was basically doing between like 2 and 10 people's jobs. And so they split it off. And now I'm just publishing, a little bit of journalism when I have time. And this is accidentally the best job I've ever had. I just get to like talk to incredible authors and publishers and illustrators all day long, figuring out how to help people raise money to fund their literary dreams. It's the best.
Yeah.
Awesome,
I
amazing.
love being an author this day and age. And I'm at a writing retreat right now, and there are people with like 20 years publishing experience, trad. And right now, we went around the room and people who are popping off having really amazing success as baby authors, they're all direct. They're all like getting right to the reader. I thought that self-publishing, uploading a book to Amazon and Kobo was pretty darn direct to the reader. It turns out you can get even closer to the reader and have an even more fun experience. And I freaking love this. I love it because this is what story is. You're sitting around the campfire and you tell a story and you get some food and you've enriched the community, and then you do it all over again the next night and you just exist and tell stories. And I think watching Russell's career, we talk about like I built it the opposite way from Amazon now going more direct, and Russell got it. You got it from the beginning. You're like, if you want my weird stuff, it is right here. Well, not on those big retailers. It's right here.
Well, and I think that it's like so interesting for like, because like in the weirder genres, like direct was more important, quicker, because there's just fewer people, but those people pay more for books. And so like it's this whole like thing where like it populates upward and downward. And as I said at the conference, people were asking me about special edition. She's like, do you do that? One of the people from Written Word Media was like, So are you doing direct special editions? I was like, well, I mean, like I created this methodology for people to use. So like, but like my career is about showing romance authors how I barely broke even on something so they could make a fortune.
We appreciate it, Russell.
Right, you crawled so everyone else could run, or whatever that expression is.
Yes, and I was like, this series I'm writing, it's gonna be like a whole. I'm gonna do all of the tropey things, and it's like the weirdest book I've ever done. So let's
I love
talk
it.
about Kickstarter. But I'm not gonna ask questions because I know all the things. I wrote a book about Kickstarter. Lee, however, has gone from 0 Kickstarters to like 300 Kickstarters planned in like the next year. So like I want to hear what questions she has.
Yeah, well, I skipped to the front of the line. I worked with Dana at the Influence, and I feel like they have such an in that my first project got a projects we love stamp like within 3 seconds. And I was like, that's not me. They don't know me. That's because of the Influence. But Dana shared some really cool statistics about how well authors are doing on Kickstarter. I would love you know them better than I do. I'd love to hear those stats.
I would love to tell you that. I'm just loading my little insights report that I get to run.
Data. It's time for data.
Yeah, let's do some data. Looker is a little bit slow, so let's vamp for another second until
Well,
all of these boxes populate. I will just say, Lee, your project was so good, and it would have gotten to projects we love regardless. But also, yes, Dana from Influence is an absolute hero, and if you are able to work with her, yeah. Super highly recommended. So, okay, so this is just like a rundown of some stats about the publishing category specifically. In all time, all Kickstarter's life, there have been 8 million. Wait, no. Oh my gosh, wait. This is the wrong. Just we're gonna
We'll vamp a little
we're
bit.
gonna move back
that
a little more.
that's the whole, yeah, that was the whole of Kickstarter has had $8.7 billion pledged to it. I was like starting to read it and like that's too many digits for publishing. Here's publishing.
Yeah, we have it. It's coming. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are just shy of $400 million all-time pledge to Kickstarter. There have been 3.2 million unique backers. All-time raised is 363 million. So I'm looking at this and like there has been year-over-year growth in publishing every single year since 2015. That's in terms of number of projects launched, number of projects successful, and percent success rate. So publishing is a little bit like Kickstarter's backlist. It has never been the biggest category. It has never been the smallest category. It has never been in decline. It is doing better and better every year. What other things on here should I mention? The success rate in publishing for projects that have at least 25 backers. I'll just mention why we look at that stat. There will always be a small undercurrent of people on Kickstarter who sort of like close their eyes and derp out a campaign and wait to be showered by magical internet money. I like to take them out of the statistics. 25 backers, we think, is a good marker of like you've gotten a little bit beyond your mom, your best friend, the folks who are like obligated to support anything you do. So if you can get outside of that inner circle, your success rate in publishing is 84%. Unbelievable. I love that so much.
That's amazing.
What else can I tell you? I have some averages from 2024, which I think is interesting. So across the category, the average raise was $16,000. Average number of backers was just under 200. Average pledge per backer was $63. I think that is particularly notable. The site average is 25. And I think I have this, the average backer amount in 2020 was $38. So it has almost doubled. This is obviously the TikTokization of the publishing industry. Special editions are really responsible for this, but I think it's so important. Like backer behavior on Kickstarter is wildly different than like general book purchasers on the internet. People are willing to come here and spend upward of $60 for your special edition and know that they're going to have to wait for like many months to even get it. They're going to get to come along on the journey, watch you create it. It's just behavior and interactions that like I don't think you find in many other places out in the publishing world.
No,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important that 25 people say like, can I come without an audience? I always say, well, like if you bring 25 backers, Kickstarter will probably chip in 25 backers. But if you
Yeah.
bring 10, you're going to get zero. Like you need to bring a bit so that Kickstarter knows like that and then they will like work for you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so our algorithm works entirely on attention. So if you are bringing your audience first, if our system sees that people are clicking, they're backing, they're commenting, that's going to signal that like people want to see this. We should show it to more people. We have a sort of like recommendation engine that populates the various macros and carousels on the sites that does recommendations at the bottom of every system email, things like that. Another notable statistic for publishing, we track in your creator dashboard what percent of your backers are coming through your efforts versus through the Kickstarter ecosystem. On average, a publishing project will see like 25 to 30% coming through Kickstarter. So you will grow your audience while you're here. That's certainly not nothing. But as Russell said, it's not everything. You absolutely need to bring some amount of your people first. And that's what's going to help like set the whole thing off.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can get way higher than that too. Like you
Oh,
can do backer swaps, you can do there's all sorts of ways to use the Kickstarter algorithm. And then like you need to the earlier you bring them, like the more the algorithm can work for you. It's the same exact thing about like launch day on Amazon, right? Like you want that if the launch week works really well, and like not that it has one day, but like it has all of the things. You like have level across a week or whatever the algorithm says is good now in that first week, then like the algorithm will be like, "Oh, you had this thing for this amount of time. Now let's work to find you more things," which is why like the successful projects tend to become more and more and more successful over time because like that amplification effect works.
I have both of your dashboards pulled up. Should I share what percentage of your backers came from Kickstarter?
Please, because I was going to say I was panicking because I realized, oh my gosh, you're just a kid in kindergarten just on the first day and you're not used to this and that you're scared. And then Willow Winters, who's had many successful campaigns, was like, oh, like 50% of the people backing my campaign are from Kickstarter itself.
Yeah.
And I know she drives a lot of attention. If you're listening to this podcast, you've been told to get a newsletter, and I can point my newsletter anywhere. But I was a little scared. I was like, I know I can point them towards Amazon and get a bunch of pre-orders. I don't know. I had to teach them how to follow and how I had some reader education, I guess. And I was really nervous. But yeah, tell the stats.
So yours, Lee, you had 61% pledged via Kickstarter. Russell, your current live campaign, which everyone needs to know about, How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia. It is so good. Currently at 52% via Kickstarter. Your last campaign, Revenge of the Dish, Best Served Twice, 64%. And then I just also pulled up one of your bigger campaigns, The Death's Kiss NSFW comic, was at 53% via the Kickstarter ecosystem. So significantly higher than our averages. It's probably generally more than 30%. I don't want to tell people it's going to be 50 because then if it's 42, they're going to be mad at me.
Right. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there's just so many ways that you get found on Kickstarter that no one talks about. Like at the bottom of every page, there's like other campaigns to back. Once you pledge, there are other campaigns to back. And then the email that you get from Kickstarter after you pledge, there's more campaigns to back. There's also more campaign emails that get sent out. Like it's not as sophisticated maybe as the also bots on Amazon, but like there are many, many places that you can go down rabbit holes for like what to back, right? What else to back.
It's even more like, I mean, sure, the also bought on Amazon is going to say, if you like reverse harem, why choose lesbian erotica set on the moon? Here are 7 other books like that. But Kickstarter is going to be like, do you like books? Do you like special editions? Do you like things with mermaids? Here's a CD. Here's an enamel pin. Like, I feel like, and I think people are more adventurous about their backings. Whereas if they're on Amazon, they're just looking for like these 6 tropes that they know that they love.
Yeah, Kickstarter is definitely like, I'm going on an adventure, but you
Yeah.
guys have goodies that people cannot get anywhere else. These were collectibles, which is a $500 billion market. If you have special editions, you've entered into the collectibles market. Russell, you're doing workbooks along with your books. So it's just more. It's like more stuff than you can offer on Amazon or a platform like that. So it's fun.
And it makes your backers feel closer to you. I mean, of course, you want people to read your books, but do they like you enough to also take your courses, to also buy the candle that smells like your heroine? Like, why not? Why not make them feel like to buy naming rights for one of the characters to get like an extra novella that's like a blooper of a sex scene? Why wouldn't you want that stuff? And that's going to make those people like so much more invested in this thing and like everything you do next.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot because I write a lot with AI and I write a lot with co-writers and I write a lot and I have a lot of other people that work for me in different capacities. And it's like my hands don't touch the keys as much as they once did to write. And so like I went through a little bit of this crisis of like, well, my hands don't touch the keys. Am I even the writer anymore? And one of my friends was like, well, like if you dictated your book to somebody else and they typed it, would they get writing credit? And I was like, no. They were like, well, so like typing the actual keys is not the key factor in being a writer. It's a component maybe of being a writer, but it's certainly not the defining feature. Like it's not going to give somebody writing credit who didn't actually come up. So like I've been like, well, if writers aren't about typing keys, like what are they? This is going to sound totally like pretentious, but like I've been saying, like we are experience curators. We happen to like use books as the experience that we are curating for our readers, but we're entering a world which Kickstarter can help with, I think, like lead the way for like testing this ability to like, well, what is the experience that someone wants from your books? And like then if you can find other books that are like it and feed them that, if you can feed them other experiences, if you can feed them like an RPG game or like a candle or like whatever of that thing to like either amplify the experience they're already getting with the book or recreate that experience in another context, like now you're like now you've been empowered to do anything.
I love that. What a great description.
And yeah, it's something that I think that kicks like I guess I would like to hear in your own words, like where do you think Kickstarter like sits in this new world of going like of like I could do anything. And this is always like overwhelm is like the thing that we always hear at conferences and from people like I can do anything, but I end up doing nothing. It's like, where do you think someone should be? Like what mindset, like where should Kickstarter sit or crowdfunding sit like in this world we live in now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think the real answer is that Kickstarter can fit at many points and for like many kinds of people. It depends, but it always is going to be about community building, about sort of like brand enhancing, and it's going to be work. Like you can do a small campaign just, for a couple $1,000s and like see how it feels, and that's fine. But generally, if you're talking about building in all these experiences, interesting, strange rewards, a lot of backer swaps, like, doing all this like real communicating with your community, like it's going to take a lot of work. And so you have to be ready and you have to feel like the things you will get out of that are going to be worth it for you. I mean, a Kickstarter at its heart is about raising money. That is your primary goal, obviously. What are your secondary goals? Like figuring that out and like, is this the time that you want to raise your profile, that you want to build your mailing list, that you want to do something ambitious, that you want to like move into a different genre? Like if Kickstarter can feed those things along the way and like all of the time and effort it's going to take for you to do it will feel worthwhile, then it's probably a good time to be on the platform. Was that a way of answering that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting because you talk about work, but like creating a marketing assets is work. And like you will have to create those marketing assets. Like if you're doing any direct sales, like you will have to create a sales page. You'll have to create like what you're offering. You'll have to like make it compelling. You'll have to like do all of this stuff. And so like a lot of people teach like do your testing through Facebook ads and heat maps and all of that stuff. And like, that's fine. Like, if you are a big data person, like, awesome. But like, I prefer to get paid for my market testing. And so like, I'm like, if I put a Kickstarter up, like, and it doesn't resonate, guess what? I can change all of the text. I can change all of the emails. I can then take the best emails and make an email sequence from it. I can test what rewards I should offer after the campaign, where I should offer them, what I should offer. And like, now I've left Kickstarter, not in a deficit that needs to be like added into my marketing testing, but like I've gotten like, oh, these are all bangers. I know because they made X amount of money. This page is a banger. This video is a banger. Like, all of these things I've been able to test throughout the campaign. And like, that work needs to get done, right? I mean, like, Lee, you do a lot of direct sales. Like, this is all stuff that needs to get done, whether you do Kickstarter or not, right?
Yeah, we have the heat map software, mouse flow and stuff like that. We've done all that. And yeah, all the data stuff. But I love that you're doing it and getting paid to do it. And we were talking to someone last night who loves parties and loves events. And we all were like, well, do a Kickstarter. That's the ultimate event. It's the ultimate, like, here's the bonfire. It's going on right now. Come and party. And I don't know of any other thing. Like, people try to recreate that with big launches on e-retailers. And I don't know anything that does it as well as Kickstarter. Like, everybody, I think everybody who saw the Brandon Sanderson campaign wanted to back it, even if you'd never read any of his books.
Yeah, 100%.
It was compelling. It was exciting. It felt like a movement. You wanted to be part of it. You were so excited. And that is really cool. Like, there's a concert going on. You want to be part of it. It's just, there's an energy about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can also build in actual events into your campaign. You can obviously do virtual and IRL launch parties. Lucy Eden, she did quarterly book boxes, and she happens to live in a duplex where she Airbnbs half of the house. And so for the very highest tier backers, you could get a weekend in New York to come stay at her house and like participate in the book club, which happened each season for the books featured in the boxes. Like, whatever. I have been wanting somebody to build a book tour via Kickstarter, like to say, if you can, here's the reward for Ohio. It's $1,000. If you get 10 people like to partner with you, each of them to get a book, I will come to your town and do a reading. We'll fulfill those books in a local bookstore. You can build all of that into the campaign.
And that's awesome. Go Lucy. That's really smart. She's in Brooklyn too. Yeah,
totally.
Well, my friend did a red carpet VIP party in LA for her book launch. And like, that was like that was like what she was literally raising for, was to do this. She like had this book, it was called Cake in Bed. And like, the big thing that she wanted was like this like big party. And like, maybe it was one of her stretch goals, but like, you can do anything. Well, you can't do anything, but you can do many things that you've always wanted to do. And one of the great things about Kickstarter is like, if it doesn't fund, you don't have to make it. And like, this is a thing that we don't talk about a lot, because it's like, well, negative, like saying negative things do not like get people excited as much as positive things. But like, there are things you might want to test. Like, I don't know, like Pierre did a book, and like, Pierre wanted to test something, and like, it didn't fund. Like, very publicly, like, it's there. You can, like, I'm not saying anything out of school. And I'm just like, this is great. Like, you don't have to do that book now. Like all of these people were like asking for the book, and you can be like, I'm sorry, we already did this one. Like, it did not do it. So like, I don't know what you want from me. We're like, and like, sometimes that is a good result. And I tell people all the time, it's like, what is something your people always want? How much would you have to make that worthwhile? It's like, great, you just had what your goal is and what like your rewards are, and like, you've now got a Kickstarter, and you raise $100,000 or $50,000 or $10,000, you'll do it. If not, then like, no one can bug you about it anymore. And like, either way, it's great.
Totally. And you will have learned so much about your audience, about what they actually, when they, put their money where their mouth is, what they do and don't like think is important. And then you can make future decisions accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I also love what you said about community because so often people think that like community is a bunch of people hanging out together on like a Facebook group, but like a way that you show community is through buying things and like through action, through taking actions, whether that is I like Taylor Swift. I will go to been to a Taylor Swift concert, been to Kesha concerts. Like I don't follow any of them on. Like, I have no idea what their community is, but like, I do participate in said community because, like, I listen to the albums, I buy the albums, I like, go to the concerts, and like, we have a very narrow definition of what like it means to take part in a community or be a fan of something in the publishing space. And maybe it's because like books are so cheap or so many of them are like you like do on Kindle Unlimited or like whatever, but like the biggest way that people like interact with with like you and form connection with you is through your work, not around your work. And part of through the work is buying the work.
So there's an amazing book that I think about often. It's called Marketing, a Love Story by Bernadette Jiwa. It's kind of an antidote to the Dude Bro books. It's very wise. I actually haven't finished it because it's one of those you read 4 chapters and you're like, I have to sit with this for 3 years. She's talked about getting closer to the customer, getting closer, building that community, getting closer to the consumer is where businesses thrive. And she gave examples. She said Blockbuster to Netflix, hotels to Airbnb. And she went down the list of like, it got closer to the people. And I think in the age of AI and the age of the digital age, real life stuff is becoming so valuable. We've seen that where people can buy my ebooks and they want a very special, expensive edition that will never disappear from their Kindle. And I think we'll see even more of a shift, especially as AI becomes more powerful. And my image on here could be completely fabricated. It's going to be like, no, where is Lee? She needs to come to Ohio. I need to see her and shake her hand or hug her. And so moving closer to the consumer is always the way, which is wonderful. And I love that. And that's why Kickstarter is really powerful right now, is because it does create an event, it does create an online community bonfire, and it moves us closer to the reader and gives them a more elaborate experience, which I think people are craving.
Yeah. And I think I think it also mirrors larger trends of like we're moving more toward that sort of like 100 true fans situation, as opposed to like for a while, like you needed to have 100,000 casual followers on this or that social platform, to like get any traction. And like, I think I love the idea that now it is like much more about quality over quantity. Like, not everybody's Brandon Sanderson, and that's okay. But if you have 100 people who are shelling out significant money, who are really participating in your creative world and the work that you're doing in it, that is incredibly meaningful, especially in this like vastly alienating, lonely moment.
Yeah, I was talking to someone there's a lot of talk about like, publishers saying no to you until you have 10,000 people on your mailing list or saying come back with 10,000 people on your mailing list. And I was like, you're missing the point. The point is they don't know how you are going to get in front of enough people to like make their investment worthwhile. You don't need 10,000 people. Like if you can speak at Harvard and like do a book tour, if you can like do an event where hundreds of people show up, if you can if you can incept the idea of like, oh, I understand how you have the infrastructure in place to like amplify your message. And we've spent so long trying to say like the only way to amplify your message is through like a social media account that has 100,000 people in it or a YouTube or like X, Y, and Z. But like really, I have not had significantly more sales like at 50,000 subscribers than I had at like 25,000 subscribers. What it has done is like give an amplification effect that like more people now know that I exist, but like it hasn't really viscerally so much changed how many people make it down to like the huge fan of my work enough to back a Kickstarter. And like that, look, I love having 50,000 subscribers. It's great. It makes me feel good every day that I can wake up and be like, oh, look, 20,000 people read my weird post yesterday. But like in my bank account, like what matters are the people that really get down and like and like believe the message and like interpret the message and are like there for like the highest point of that message. And that's where I think like Kickstarter has always been so strong. It's like, well, sure, like a lot of people might read the message, but like who actually like is moved by the message enough to take action?
Yeah, totally.
What did you find on your first campaign, Lee? We have actually not talked about this like at all. Like,
Yeah, I was surprised that I felt like my audience wasn't responding as much as I wanted them to, but then the Kickstarter was making up for it. I'm really glad I got one under my belt because I'm really excited about the ones I have upcoming. And I feel like, from what I can tell, these things build. You build an audience. And I went back and looked at all these successful people's first campaigns. I was like, oh, I'm doing fine. I mean, Brandon Sanderson came out of the gate really strong, but he's had like
I mean, he did come out strong, but like that was not his first project where he earned $47 million. I think he only earned 10 million the first time around, which by compare,
so
taking
sad.
into account his scale, that's tremendous growth. That was
It is
definitely
tremendous growth. That's very exciting. And it's so interesting. Like the overnight success takes 10 years every single time. I've also noticed, and I don't know what y'all's opinion is, but in the fiction space, I feel like people with a strong Patreon, where they've already got this like closer relationship, that translates to a strong Kickstarter. Have you seen that? Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say so. I mentioned that I came to Kickstarter to grow our journalism category, and that was something that I learned and preached when that was, sort of what I was most focused on. That like you can use these audiences in concert with one another. They can feed each other for sure. I mean, Kickstarter is, I think, the best for project-based fixed funding. There are plenty of other ways that you can have like strands in your financial bouquet. What a terrible metaphor. But so, like you can, when I was doing journalism, I would say to like digital media outlets, you can sell subscriptions through your rewards, 6-month, 12-month subscriptions. And then at the end of those terms, you have given your readers 6 months to like really enjoy what you do. And then it's time to transition them into your subscription software. You can start with people who are already paying you $5 a month because they think what you're doing is important and say, now I'm going to ask you to come to Kickstarter and do this bigger one-time thing as like to fund this specific project. So absolutely. We recently released secret rewards. So we're seeing a lot of this with like folks who have strong Patreons or like other sorts of like, you can say for only the people who are like already subscribers, I'm offering you this thing. Or if you follow me on Instagram, you will get a special link to this additional secret reward. You can sort of like cultivate or like reward those existing strong communities by giving them something just for them.
I love this. I'm writing this down. That sounds really fun too. It also is Easter eggy and fun. And I
That's
think
totally.
at this point in my career, I'm just trying to keep myself entertained. Okay. And so I get why Taylor Swift does so many Easter eggs. Like you gotta keep
Gotta
moving
keep it
forward
interesting.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so what I found is I was building community on a Facebook group, and that worked fine in the beginning. And now no one sees my posts. And so was it a mistake for 10 years to do that? No. I mean, I felt really good about like, I started my group to share baby pictures, okay, with the 5 grandmas who read my work.
Oh.
Like, yes, I was so good. But I missed that community. So it's like, well, Patreon, and I will build it there. And, I have the people who post most on who actually see my posts and comment, they all subscribed. So I was like, oh, okay, it is the same. Like it's a community.
Yeah.
But I notice again, you're getting closer to the reader, and that's what I'm craving actually in this time of uncertainty and crazy news stuff. I'm going, just get me back to my tribe. We evolved to be around maybe 100 other humans in a mountain village. And if something was terrible, if there was a disaster, we would all help each other.
Yeah.
So I can't watch the news because I can't help. I can't make a casserole for the victim's family 7 states away. Like I don't have the bandwidth to do that actually. But I can, focus on a community. So like, well, where is it? Where's the people? And so I'm looking for that and craving that. And I think a lot of people are.
I will say though, Patreon has a large negative, which is they are the payment processor, which means you can never leave Patreon. If you ever leave Patreon, you have to one by one try and convince people to move off, as opposed to Substack or any of the another fourth wall or whatever you end up whatever else you end up using. So like it's not to not use Patreon. It's like if you better be sure you want Patreon, because like if you don't want Patreon in 5 years, there are a lot of authors who suddenly are like, I want to have a Substack, and you're like, well, I can't move off of it. The advantage is you don't pay like they are the processor of note. Like you don't pay like sales, all of that other stuff. Like they take care of it. But the disadvantage is that like you cede some control over like your freedom of movement, which for 99.9% of people is not going to sway them one way or another. But for me, I'm like, whoa, if I'm going to be charging people every month, like I don't want to be stuck here for 10 years. It's different with like Kickstarter. Like were Kickstarter to be the thing of note, they are not. But like, it's like, okay, you go there for a project and then you leave after the project. Like you don't have to interact with Kickstarter like after that. But like with a subscription place, you do. But I agree with you, Lade. You might know this, having read my upcoming book, that like, I think subscriptions are the undercurrent of like every good business. And that the problem is that people use subscriptions like when they need it. Instead, like you should be building a subscription now when you don't need it at all. Like onesie twosies, like putting back matter content, like doing stuff that is a very low lift that like an assistant can do. And then like over time, it like will build every campaign. You'll get people in your Kickstarter, like every launch, Kickstarter, Patreon, you'll be able to like funnel people back over time, and then it eventually becomes powerful. But like from every growth curve that I've seen, it takes somewhere between 1 and 2 years for that to happen. So like you want to be doing, and that's like even very successful authors, like if you want that, like, oh, I'm making enough money to like only do the subscription, then like you need to be doing it before you need it, or before you even want it, or before it even makes sense for you, and then filling it with stuff that like again is a low lift, which is why like back matter content, I often call it like monetizing your garbage. Not because it's garbage, but like it's like the stuff that it's the afterburn of
the detritus.
Right, it's like
regard on there because I don't know where else to put it.
Exactly. But even like first drafts, like character designs, like all of that, like anything that's not all of the things that are crafted, turning the book into something publishable is something that like your biggest fans want to see, and also things you can put on Kickstarter. But like those two things become very powerful because like they are two of the biggest levers to like have that instant connection and like deep connection with people. So yes, I was taught by Ben Temple-Smith on a podcast almost 10 years ago now that he makes his living on his Patreon. Mm-hmm. Then he does a Kickstarter to make his profit, and then he sells the book to a publisher to get
Trad.
amplification. And like there's so in that way, if you read my upcoming book, it's basically a subscription is the undercurrent. This is where you get your operating expenses. A Kickstarter / direct store or how you like make your fun money, living money, like your extra money. And then like the retailers are an amplification effect. So it's like literally just like the realization of like that thing that he taught me almost 10 years ago now.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's more a subscription, so it doesn't have to be the platform. Yeah, I could move from Patreon at any time. I think that subscription wise, I felt like my newsletter was strong and I was publishing enough on Amazon that was almost a treadmill, which is why I resisted a subscription for so long. I was like, I already have a treadmill, but I've gotten off that treadmill with direct. And so now I have the bandwidth, and what I really want is community, and I want to feel closer. So, but I think that Kickstarter, I'm excited to see how I can grow it and what cool stuff I can do with it.
Oriana, you tell her other
Yeah.
things, like tell her things she should look at for building community. Like here's a good transition towards the wrap up.
Wait, but so you mean like things like rewards, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, it just seems like, again, we're going on an adventure. And one of the first things I did while I was spiraling and freaking out, I'm like, okay, calm down your nervous system. Kickstarter's normal. You've backed Kickstarters before. So I went on my public persona, Lee Savino, and I backed projects. So people can see that I'm like, I'm in the ecosystem. We're all in this together. So I recommend that if you're new and you're thinking about it, go back some projects at the lowest tier that you can afford, or the highest tier you can afford, and get on the train and have a good time.
That's the number one recommendation I say for anyone who's even remotely Kickstarter curious. Like there are only positive effects. Yes, you will build, like when you launch, your little creator bio will say how many projects that you have backed. So demonstrating to the people that you are part of the community is lovely. This is also building community. Like you are now supporting people. You are in community with other authors. It's also really fun, as you just said, like a cool Kickstarter is really fun to be a part of. And it's really, really instructive. You're going to see what is the tone they're taking on their story page, what is the cadence of their backer updates, and what kinds of things are they talking to their people about? Are they asking? What rewards do they have? Which ones have backers? Like, learn from other people. I say this kind of all the time, but like, I'm an expert in Kickstarter because I stare at Kickstarter all day long. And you too can stare at Kickstarter truly for as long as you can bear, find all the best tricks and steal them for yourself. That's how this all works.
All the data is there. I think authors are so obsessed with Amazon rank because everything is actually super opaque over there.
100%.
Kickstarter's like, yeah, 10
all
people
hanging out.
$300 tier. So that's $3,000 for that person. And that's 50% of their campaign, by the way. So maybe you should have a $300 tier. I don't know.
And you can also use, like, you can figure out, even looking at campaigns that are totally different from yours, you can figure out what your version of that thing would be. Like, you don't have to directly copy. In fact, you shouldn't. You know, we talked about Willow Winters. Like, in one of her early campaigns, she had scene boxes where she wrote out sex scenes like a film script and included the toys that were used in a box so you could act out your favorite scene. Incredible. Maybe your book doesn't have sex scenes, or maybe you have like some totally other, like, what's the version of that Penny Reed has all of her, there's like a big knitting component to her stories. So she's got a friend who owns a yarn shop. They make custom yarn colors that they give away as rewards. Okay, so maybe your heroine isn't a knitter, but maybe she makes honey. Maybe she, like, what is that for you that you can make your own, that you can use to really, really excite the people with whom you are building this community?
Well, and I want to add just like, not just the ones that are live, literally every Kickstarter campaign, successful, failed, almost everyone is available for you to do research on.
Yeah,
like,
it's all there.
It's all
yes.
there.
Like
And
you could go to Willow Winters, pull up every one of her campaigns and graph how much like she made on each thing. Like sometimes people will pay more than the price but like in general, you'll see who like paid for what on every one of their campaigns, and like you can just reverse engineer, unlike Amazon, where you can only get a snapshot that 1 second. Sorry, Lee, you were going to say something.
Well, back to you said curate an experience. I think go and curate your own personal Kickstarter experience where you buy the tier with the chapstick because you really love the idea of the book related chapstick. And then you go, oh, I want to do this for me. And then curate an experience for your reader where they can read the book and enter into the world, but like Willow did with the scenes, they can really get in. You give them all the props to recreate the world. And that can be really special. And I didn't get it. I am not really a stuff person. I have one outfit I wear all the time. I actually love digital. Like, just give me digital books. No clutter. I have, a very pretty bookshelf. Don't touch it. And then I own tens of thousands of books, but they're all ebooks. And I didn't really get it. But then after COVID, my husband and I went to our first concert and we realized we had to get a t-shirt. And it was because we wanted a physical representation of the feelings, of the happy feelings. I don't even own the t-shirt anymore. I immediately cut it all up so it would fit me properly. And at the same time, I still remember that t-shirt very fondly, even though I love to declutter my wardrobe all the time. Because again, I have one outfit. So curate the experience, have a blast, see what you like, and then add it in.
Also, not to cut you off, but like there's lots of fun and cool things you can do digitally. You can make a soundtrack to your book or a 20-song playlist of like songs you love to listen to while you're writing. You can do digital Easter eggs. You could do digital annotations on the ebook. Like you can create extra content. You can write people into the story. You can do digital wallpaper so they could put your cover art on their phone or on their desktop. Like lots of cool stuff can happen. And also, I don't even know if I've said this yet, but like the best way to know what your community wants is to ask them before the campaign, during the campaign. Hey, would you guys rather have enamel pins or tote bags? If we hit this stretch goal, do you want me to improve the book by adding French flaps or putting in an extra signature with like some photos in it? Like, what do you want? And that way, even if you had already decided you like the French flaps better, the act of having asked them, of making people feel like they are part of the creative process of this creation, they're going to be so much likelier to like come along and back whatever it is that you decide to do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. All right. We have a couple minutes left. Oriana, do you want that to be your last word? Do you have any other last words for people?
Oh, any other golly. Gee, I wish I had something especially smart and good. I don't think I really do. I mean, this is great. This is a nice, I guess this is what I'll say. These are uncertain times. Nobody has to like overly emphasize that, but I think that like Kickstarter can be like a nice, really like a bright spot in like a tough time. I mean, certainly my work these days, I get to open my computer and like, here is a pile of problems I can solve and people I can help and like warmth I can experience. I think that's really true for like anybody right now who's feeling scared and lonely. And, obviously everything is really uncertain. Like that includes this, but I do think that like, each of these projects is like a really lovely creative journey that people are taking together despite all of the chaos of the world around us. And that can be really meaningful.
I love it. Awesome. Well, everyone, on that note, we'll say goodbye. Bye.
Bye. I can't believe, but absolutely can believe we rushed through. It's been an hour already. I could talk to you two for probably literally forever.
Same. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Feel the love.
Thanks for listening. For more, head on over to sixfigureauthorexperiment.com for archive access, resources, and more. We'll see you next time.